What's up, everybody? It's your favorite duo here, Christian and Kevin, bringing you a top 25 breakdown of a team that we really like. This is one of our our teams this year, especially Christian's team, because he's a big fan of Michael Penix Jr. So we're going over the Washington Huskies, who are criminally underranked in the ESPN ranking system here. I really feel like they should be a top 10 team. They're not. We're going to talk about why maybe that is, but we're going to go to the full depth chart, who they lost, who they got in the transfer portal, what that number one offense could be in the Pac-12. What does that look like? And could this team be that dark horse contender to go to the college football playoff and get in there and sneak in over USC or one of these other Oregon teams in the Pac-12? So we're gonna be diving into the full team breakdown. You know the drill. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys on the other side. All right, we got to give Christian a shout out with his graphic here with the Washington Huskies here. And we're going to be diving into what their offense looks like. Switch up a little bit because we just dropped a huge Patreon update for our college football manifesto. We're going to give you a little preview of that as well. But Christian, take it away. What do we got with their offense? What's coming back, especially on that offensive line?
Yes, so they've got a lot of returners here on this offensive line. Now, only 40% of the guys return. So the two tackles started a lot of games last year, most games. They played a ton of snaps. But Mateo Mele and Nate Kalepo played more than 200 snaps last year. They were part of that rotation on that offensive line. And so you do have a lot of guys returning. Julius Below, he's that new addition to the offensive line. They did lose 3 starting interior offensive linemen, which seems significant until you realize that those other guys were being rotated in. So, I mean, honestly, you're pretty happy with this. To have both tackles returning is a huge factor, especially once we get into the rest of the offense and that passing attack. Those tackles are very important. So it's really good to see both of those guys back.
Yeah, I think that offensive line, when you're looking at that, I mean, that's what led them to it. Like their offense last year, 11-2 overall, what they did there, but their offense, number one passing attack, right behind, second best offense in terms of yards per game behind Tennessee. And Tennessee you saw what they did last year, the number one passing attack. And when you're looking at that, 2 years ago, when all this was going down, the Washington football program was falling apart. Kalen DeBoer came in there. They finished 114th in the nation in total offense 2 years ago. Washington fans, you were bored out of your mind. And then last year, they come out of the gate and just have one of the best seasons in Washington history. When you're looking at it, the 12-0 team was probably the best one, obviously. And then when they went to the college football playoff, but this is a top 3 team ever last year. And a lot of that was that offensive line and this offensive system by DeBoer. And when we look at the team coming back, they got their dudes back. They got Michael Penix Jr. came back, Rome Odunze, Jalen McMillan, Polk, all of these different guys there. And they picked up some key transfers in that running back room. So I'm excited about this offense. And when you're looking at their depth chart here, there's a lot to like.
Ton to like. I mean, we're starting to hear the Rome Odunze buzz for NFL draft circles. The Michael Penix Jr. We've been talking about that for over a year now. He is a fantastic quarterback, and I think he might just be a fantastic college quarterback. I still have some faith that he's going to be playing in the NFL for a very long time. He makes these crazy bucket throws. He's got the ability to run this Kalen DeBoer offense to the highest level. This is the heightened version of the Kalen DeBoer offense, which is already kind of overpowered. It's a fantastic scheme, and it's perfect for those 3 receivers to work. Jalen McMillan's one of those guys that he had a good year last year. I think we're going to see him take another step. There are things that all of these guys could still work on, and they were already successful. So as a Washington fan, you have to be excited about this group because like we've talked about, they were already really good. That next step could be that thing. We talked about a team, Texas Tech was our last video on this, and you mentioned TCU. This could be the TCU-esque team where this offense just propels them to a ton of wins, and they wind up in the college football playoff.
Well, they have to because that defense has been suspect, but they did it. They did a pretty good job. We're going to dive into that on the transfer portal there. No, I agree there. I think when you're looking overall, like this team is ready to go. They're the depth there, the tight end room. I love Ryan Otten because I love Kate Otten, and then you have Devin Culp and Jack Westover. Like that tight end room is just like Oregon. I think it rivals kind of that Oregon tight end room that they have. These wide receivers could be like this group collectively. Them and Oregon again have 2 of the probably top, USC as well. They're right there. They know how to build out. I think the thing that that separates them a little bit is their running back is deep too. Like we're gonna get into Dylan and Daniel, the transfers, but they have it. They have that group there. The key to me in this whole thing is Michael Penix Jr.'s got to stay healthy. Like that's key. He stayed healthy last year, had over 4,500 yards. Like that's Michael Penix Jr. But again, health has been one of those things that we've seen him struggle with. Not necessarily his fault, just that happened. So that's going to be key there. When we talk about notable losses, we've already mentioned that the inside linebackers, or excuse me, inside offensive lineman there, running back as well. I think they did a good job of addressing that. So when you're thinking of like notable losses, yeah, they did lose some off the top, but I do think the depth and what they attacked in the portal. So teams that use the portal well are definitely going to be a little bit further than some of these other teams that don't. Like, so for example, Clemson, they struggle. They really need to attack that offensive line and kind of use the portal there. And they didn't do that. They have a very strong offensive line up front. Washington realized that. And you could tell the teams that use the portal and then recruit very well, like they're filling their needs way faster than other squads. And so they don't necessarily have to have that development quickly. So you're going to see that there. Anything else on these notable losses?
No, just Wayne Talapapa was good last year. Every time I watched him, I was like, is he going to play on Sundays? I don't know. He's like not a great athlete, but he was really, really good in that scheme. The craziest thing, though, is I think their running back room is better now that he is gone. So while that is a notable loss because he was so successful, I think this group collectively is the best assortment of skill position players that we've seen Washington have in a very, very long time.
Yeah. And then hey, they're reloading, right? They're not rebuilding, they're reloading here. When you look at what they've kind of been able to do on the recruiting trail, Landon Hatchett's a big one, like 6'3", 300. Like he's out there and he's definitely, I think that when you're looking at body size, number 25 at his position overall, like he can step in if they needed him. Like he's one of those guys I think could be ready to go. Austin Mack is built for this system. He's not gonna get out there yet. Austin Mack, though, is really, to me, someone's kind of going under the radar a little bit out of Folsom out here in California. 8 overall. Like I know a lot of guys in the Debbie space kind of like him a little bit in the C2C area. Tybo Rogers, Zachary Henning, those guys did well there. Rashid Williams and Tayshaun Lyons. Like I thought they attacked that wide receiver position. And the one thing to note for Washington's fans out there that I think you'll be excited about is they're really recruiting that Washington area very well. They're not letting people come in and grab those guys. So they think of Caleb Presley, Landon Hatchett, some of these other guys from that Washington area. But then they're also attacking California. A lot of these guys are from California, and especially these wide receivers. So they're going into these areas and getting these guys. And they went to St. John Bosco in this recruiting cycle. Hayward, they're really targeting that Bay Area in Pittsburgh and places like where Jaden Rashada played. He's going to Arizona State. But his wide receiver, Rashid Williams, like they're targeting these guys. And you have to like that because as a Washington, that's how you're going to be successful. You got to target these high-profile kids and go get them from USC, go get them from Oregon, because that's who you're competing against.
Yeah, I definitely think the USC UCLA departure to the Big Ten certainly helps that. I think there are some kids that are, hesitant to be traveling like that, even for playing for one of those schools. But I think, what Washington did last year is they put themselves very much so on the map as they could be looking at top 15 classes here or as long as Kalen DeBoer stays there. So I really like this class. There's a lot of little shots on 3-star tackles too. I think, that's how you build out a strong interior and outside offensive line, because some of these guys will transition to the inside as well. So yeah, just a fantastic job on the recruiting trail this year.
What are you talking about? Is that a recruit from California doesn't want to go play Rutgers? Is that what you're telling me right now? They don't want to go all the way
to Maryland too? Yeah,
crazy, right? 6-7 hour trip. All right, let's dive into the transfers and we'll go over the defense. Really 3 big ones. Jeremy Bernard, he's coming over from Michigan State. When he came in, when he went to Michigan State, I mean, he was the wide receiver 38 4-star kid. So when you're thinking of that, like that's kind of his potential there. 2 guys that I do really like. Running back Dylan Johnson from Mississippi State, pass catching profile, but is a good runner. Like you think of like what he was able to do there. And then Daniel Ngata. Like I like Ngata. I've always liked him a lot more at Arizona State. He's that inside presence and runner there. Like I think that he does that very well. And when you're looking at just their profiles, like Johnson, 6'2", 216. Ngata's that 5'9", 187, but does have that inside. And then they still have Cameron Davis there. These 3 guys are legit running backs in that room. So I'm a fan. I thought they did a really good job there. When you're looking at Johnson too, like he did have over, I think, he's had over about 1,200 yards career rushing there in a offense that doesn't run the ball. So like you have to kind of keep
Right.
that with that caveat. But I thought they did a good job because even though that, like you talked about with the running back situation last year, I thought they were fine, but they needed that depth. And this gives them a lot more weapons. I think the guy can be used in the passing game too. So I think those areas are the things to kind of look at.
Yeah, for sure. I've loved Nagata. I mean, especially, watching Rashad White film a couple years ago now.
Yeah,
Nagata would always just stand out as like a
always.
dude. He's got explosiveness, he's got burst. And those were the things that like through the line of scrimmage, that's what Wayne Talapapa did so well last year was he was just decisive and he would get upfield. And that's what both of these running backs actually do. So yeah, great job on in the transfer portal too. They're winning on all aspects. Just wait until we get to the defense, I guess.
Yeah, that's a tough one. When we go into impact players, we know we have Michael Penix Jr. and the wide receivers here. I do want to highlight, and then Christian can pick one. I'm a big fan of Jalen Polk. There's something about this kid that I really like. I kind of highlighted him in our Patreon as like a sleeper type area there. When you watch him, like he's just productive. Like he gets all those types of areas. I think he has good speed to take the top off a defense. Best, I think, in my opinion, when I was going through the tape, I think he has the best hands on the roster out of all three of these guys. And that's not saying Odunze and McMillan don't, but I think Polk is that guy that's like their glue guy. Good catch radius, goes up and gets it. Probably one of the bigger sleepers of this class, in my opinion. Has that, when you talk about him, he did transfer, so he does have that kind of the experience in that room. But these three guys are extremely talented.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, Odunze's getting potential first round hype. I'm not seeing that. I think all of these guys could become day two picks though. And when you have potentially 3 day two picks and a day two quarterback, that could make some impact. And that's going to be the driving force behind this offense, like it was last year. If Penix stays healthy, can find all of these receivers, I think this offense is just going to explode pretty much every week.
So real quick, would you take Michael Penix Jr.'s odds right now plus 1,600 to win the Heisman? Pretty good bet or no? He's fourth favorite.
It's a good bet.
He
I
could do it.
think Heisman betting's tough. I think I may have put that one in the manifesto update actually, because I may have bet that. But I mean, yes, if there's a quarterback that I think is like on the outside looking in that could win it, it's certainly him. Like I said, he makes throws all over. He could throw for 4,800 yards this year, something crazy like that. So.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's jump over to the defense. So when we're looking at the defensive side of the ball, there's a lot of things to kind of talk about in terms of what they maybe didn't do last year. They had a couple the Arizona State losses. You can't lose to Arizona State if you want to try to like make the Pac-12 championship, especially last year. That team was just not good. Overall, they struggled a lot last year. They ranked 100th in the country against the pass, so their pass defense definitely struggled there. They averaged allowing about 250 yards per game in the air, but they did do some things to attack that. So they went after some guys in the portal we'll get into, but defensively they struggled. They could not, and you can't do that in the Pac-12 with the passing offenses that we have. So what do we got coming back? What can we be maybe excited about, and how do we address that?
This edge rush tandem has the potential to be one of the best in the country too. Braylon Trice is already up there, getting a lot of buzz. Zion Tapuolo Fatu, I can never say his name. I'm so sorry, Huskies fans, but he is one of those guys that's been hyped up every single year, and he never really lives up to those expectations. He's back as a senior this year. I think this is the year. He's got those tools that I think translate to the NFL draft, but I think Washington fans really want to see some production. Yeah. And then Edifwan Olufosio. This is a kid that yes. So 2 years at the very end of the 2021 season, he got hurt. Came back last year. I don't think he was fully healthy yet. Had some iffy games, but still was doing the things that he does really well, which is tackle, tackle, tackle. This dude can wrap up and tackle, which is exactly what this defense really needed last year. So I'm excited to see him. He's slated to start as their middle linebacker. I think if he takes that next step, he's a little better in coverage. I think you are going to see an improved, coverage defense while still getting a better tackling interior, a nice little mop-up guy when those guys get upfield and push guys into that, first, second level.
Yeah. No, I think this defense is fun. I think that they're young and they can definitely make some impacts just based on that. And then based on, some of the stuff, maybe they lost. So they lost Alex Cook, Jeremiah Martin, Dominique Hampton. But again, the losses to me are, they lost them, but this defense did struggle anyway. So it's one of those like, Yeah, they weren't there, but they've done a good job of replenishing them, and they could realistically kind of bounce back just based on that. Anything on these three guys or one of them?
Nope. I mean, Cook and Martin were two of their better defensive players last year.
Yeah,
I think that does matter. I also think that when you look at what the production was, I think you're okay maybe trying something new this year. So
yeah.
I don't think that I think they'll miss him. I don't think they'll miss him a ton.
No, and I think like if they just get a little bit more from these guys and people get healthy, I think the health on these defensive side, going through everything, like literally, you're just previewing and researching injury, injury, injury. And it's just like,
Mhm.
oh man, these guys are all hurt. That no wonder why they struggle a little bit. Then when they went on the recruiting trail here, and this is what I was kind of talking about as well, like Caleb Presley, when you're looking at what he's able to bring to the table, position overall is 30, but also state number two player in Washington. So again, they're attacking that Washington State there. Anthony James, he's a big boy, 6'5", 265 there at the defensive line position out of Texas. So again, Washington's branching out a little bit, going after the different areas in Texas area. You have to like that. You're looking at Curly Reed there. So they did attack that secondary. So I think that was one of those things they did in the portal. And here they realized they needed to kind of go get that. But again, Curly Reed, 4-star kid from Louisiana. They're not afraid to go out there and get some guys. So you have to like that about these guys. I was very impressed with this class overall. When you're looking at it, it was 26th overall in composite rank at 247 Sports. But they did a good job of filling needs and holes in this recruiting class. But I thought the best thing is they're making footprints now. It's like, so DeBoer's out there making footprints in different states. That's going to pay dividends in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. And then, just mentioning Vincent Holmes, he's a two-way player from high school. He's an athlete as a recruit. I think he's going to play safety. He has the ability to go play with wide receiver if they ever need, though. But I think they certainly need him in that secondary to be a playmaker. I think, one of those three, Presley Reed or Vincent Holmes, if they can step up as an impact player for them as a true freshman, I think we're talking about this defense a little bit differently going into 2024 even.
Mm-hmm. Now, the key transfers, some big guys here. Jabbar Muhammad. So I know everybody's been talking about this kid, and all the coaching staff really wanted this guy. He made 71 tackles last year. He's versatile. He's fast. They talk about that. He had one interception, but he had 12 broken up passes. So over the last couple of years. So you see that, like his ability to kind of go do that in those combined years, it's impact. I think he's going to bring a veteran presence to this defense too. He gives them a guy that's played in the Big 12. It's that Power 5 as well. And they went after him. Like that was a big get for this coaching staff. They really wanted him. Ed Zactor-Free, and then linebacker Raylan Goforth. And I do know like their linebacker crew is like something they were really, really harping on in this transfer window. They wanted to definitely shore that up, and it seems like they've done it.
Yeah, for sure. And not to slide past Durfee, he is transferring in from God knows where. So Falls Athletics. Like this dude is coming out of nowhere. He was named to the NSIC All Conference first team. He's coming in. They seem to be kind of excited about him as a rotational defensive line piece. I think he's slated to at least find a way into the rotation. Whereas, Raylan Goforth in there, if Ulofoshio doesn't like take that next step, I think Goforth is probably their starter by the end of the year. But I do think that, Muhammad is probably the most impactful of this group because that secondary was just so depleted after last year.
And go for it. He's older. Yeah, he came in, I think, USC in 2019. So, like, he's an older prospect. Definitely has that experience there. Yeah, I can't wait for the Sioux Falls people to yell at you about the pronunciation of Sioux Falls. They're gonna
Yeah, I suck
the
at pronunciations. I'll tell you
Austin P
what,
fans are upset at you. SB
they're
Nation,
mad at me.
shout out. All right, let's go through the impact guys and kind of just talk about it really quick. Yeah, Braylon Trice. This guy, he's a stud when you're looking at that. What he was able to do last year. I think that's the key for this defense. What can he give you, and what do you expect from him? I think he led the national leader last year in pressures, according to PFF, at 67. So he's definitely going to be doing that. 9 sacks, third highest total. And they need him. They need these edges to step up because in this conference, like we've been talking about with this conference, they're stacked on offense and their quarterback play. You got to get after the quarterback here. And if you can force these guys into mistakes, your offense can win you those games. If these edge guys can force these guys into mistakes, take the pressure off that secondary that maybe is a little inexperienced and go win them, that's how Washington is going to win the Pac-12. If they can do that defensively, they got to stay healthy though.
Yeah. Yeah, just get to the quarterback, man. I think that's going to help that secondary. We talk about, the marriage between the pass rush and coverage, and I think with this group of guys that, and I think Ulofoshio can rush the passer too
Yeah.
from that Mike slot. So I feel pretty confident that this team is going to take a step forward. It might take a little bit. The good thing looking at their schedule is they kind of have a little bit to figure it out. So
Mhm. Yeah, let's get into that bad boy. So the win total is 9, so it's sitting right there at 9. When you're looking at this is their schedule versus Boise State. That's always fun to play Boise, but Boise's not Boise. Boise's
no.
Boise now. It's not what we used to talk about with Boise. Tulsa, Michigan State. To me, I circled when I did their spotlights as we do for our Patreon. I circled the Michigan State game. I think they came out and kind of embarrassed Michigan State. That game was not as close as it looked, 39-28, but it was not 39-28. I think they jumped out to like a 3-touchdown lead. At Michigan State, always tricky. I know Michigan State is not. They lost a lot of guys to the portal, and they're probably going to have a new quarterback there. So when you're looking at that, yeah, but if you can win that game, realistically, you should be 5-0 before you play Oregon. And I think that's the game that everybody has circled out there. Trap game, maybe Arizona if they don't do it there. Arizona State, Stanford probably should get 2 W's there. Then you got the big game of USC. And then you get, down the stretch, a little bit tougher. But realistically, they're in it right here. They can get easily, wouldn't shock me to be undefeated go to play Oregon. And then they're beating Oregon too. Last year they beat Oregon, and not a lot of people thought that they were going to be able to do that. And it took some luck, a little bit of luck. I don't want Washington fans to yell at me, but they got some lucky plays. Bo Nix got knocked out of that game for, I think that was that series. So when you're looking at that overall, I like their schedule. I think their schedule sets up pretty well, getting in the rhythm, getting ready to go. You can't lose to Michigan State, though. You can't have a trap game against Arizona. Like, those are little things that you got to make sure you kind of overcome.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the trap game, Arizona. That's a classic look ahead game with a team that like sneaky going to be good this year. I'll tell you what, I've watched a lot of Arizona studying Jacob Coing, and that offense is fun, and they will put this Washington defense in the blender if they let them. So I think, if they get through those first 5, I feel pretty good about them potentially beating Oregon. I think Oregon's going to take a step forward too. But then after that, I think Oregon and USC are the 2 teams that I would be really hesitant to pick them as winners. I feel like Utah's probably going to take a step backward. I think Oregon State, we've talked about them. I think they probably need a quarterback still. I'm not entirely certain. So I think, that 9 win total is a good line because Vegas always sets good lines. But
That's
I would
perfect.
I would hit the over on that personally.
I think it's a perfect spot. I think if you hit 9, you want to say over. It's probably a push. If I was going to like cop out and say
Probably.
9, it's probably going to be the push there. But yeah, I think you're right there, and I do think this too. Like, if Michael Penix Jr. gets injured, Dylan Morris has been there for a very, like, he has that experience in that system now too. Like, it's not necessarily like, oh my gosh, doomsday scenario. Like, I think but they need Michael against Oregon and USC. Like, and that's the thing with the Arizona game. I think it's a trap game, but Arizona, they can't stop a nosebleed. Washington could put up like freaking 60, 70 points in that game because Arizona's defense just consistently has not done it.
Yeah.
So yeah, based on the over-under, I put them around 9-ish probably. That 9 is a good number. If I was I'd say over just because I believe in the talent there. But yeah, I think 9 would be like the base probably where they're at.
Yeah. But overall, you're looking at a fantastic football team.
Yes.
If you're a Huskies fan, this is probably the best you've felt going into a season in a very long time. I think even last year there were some reservations. There was some excitement around DeBoer being there, but I think it was right to. There was talk. Penix Jr. was in a quarterback battle for part of last summer, which that was clearly never the case. But I think you walk into this season and you're feeling really, really good about the prospects. And we talked about, is this potentially a college football playoff team? If they get through Oregon and they somehow sneak a win out against USC, I think we could be talking about them in January. So go ahead.
Yeah, but no, I was just gonna say, and I think people are forgetting too that Pac-12 got rid of like the divisions, so now it's just the best 2 teams. So even if like Washington has an oops against one of those squads, they can realistically get back into Pac-12, and if they win the Pac-12 at 1 loss, they're in the playoff. They're gonna make the college football playoff unless Alabama sneaks in with like 4 losses. But like, yeah, that's how that's gonna look there. So yeah, they have that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Great team. Glad to be talking about them. Huskies fans, let us know though. Are you actually this excited? Because maybe we're just we've got the rose-colored glasses on, and we're just excited for this team. But yeah, I think it's a good football team. I'm excited to watch them this year.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, are you excited? I mean, ESPN has them as 21 Husky fans. Should they be a little higher? I think they should be in the top 15 at least. But hey, let us know. We appreciate you guys. As always, check out our Patreon if you love college football. We just dropped a 400-page document on all college football things. So, I don't know. Go check it out. It's $3. Appreciate you guys. Check you guys next time.